So I wanted to go through my water cycle review lesson, kind of tying everything together from the solves that we did last week. So here we go. The water we drink today is the same water that has existed since the world began. It's recycled over and over again, and we call this recycling process the water cycle or the hydrological cycle. The water, also known as the hydrologic cycle, is the journey water takes as it circulates from land to sky and back again. Remember, cycle has no beginning, no ending. It just keeps going and going and going. These are the stages of the water cycle, so the places that water could be at any given time. We have collection, evaporation and transpiration, condensation, and precipitation. You can see in this cycle, or on this diagram right here, and we've labeled the diagram similar. We have a lot of different things happening, a lot of water in different phases doing different things with our two driving forces, the sun and gravity. So collection as it sounds is when water collects. So when water falls to the earth as precipitation, it collects in oceans, lakes, icebergs, puddles, rivers, and streams. So we're talking about natural collection here. Obviously, you could collect water in a cup or a jar, and that is not really a collection as it pertains to the water cycle. This is more of the bodies of water or rivers or puddles outside that you see in the ground. It's called collection. So evaporation is when the sun, one of our big forces, heats up a collection of water and turns it into a vapor or a steam. So we could see that evidence of evaporation happening when we see that steam. Then it turns from a liquid to a gas called water vapor, and it rises in the atmosphere because heat rises.
I'm painting a cat. All the stuff that we're painting with water is evaporating. It's a pretty sunny day. Perfect for evaporation. We've noticed as we paint on the ground that it starts to evaporate in the sun. Now it's been 5 minutes and the fish is almost totally evaporated. We painted some shapes with water and traced them with chalk. Now, when they evaporate, it's easy to see the original shape we painted. Water is a liquid and the sun turns it into water vapor, which is a gas. Then the water vapor goes up into the clouds, and then from the clouds, it rains back down. I'm going to do an experiment to show what happens when water evaporates. I'm going to make a handprint on a piece of construction paper and put that one in the sun. And then I'm going to make another handprint and put that in a plastic bag. Now we're just going to wait to see what the sun does. It's been about 5 minutes, and the one that was just in the sun, the water's just gone. It's already been evaporated. The one in the plastic bag, I see little water droplets on the plastic bag. It's almost as though the water vapor has been caught in a net. That's the plastic bag. I'm comparing two different surfaces. I'm going to paint water on metal and cement. The metal feels warmer to me. The water on the metal seems to evaporate faster. Maybe it's harder. I am painting a sun in the sun and a sun in the shade. And I'm going to see which one evaporates faster. It's been about 5 minutes and the one in the sun is almost gone. But the one in the shade is still as wet as ever. Now it's been 10 minutes and the one in the sun has now totally evaporated. But the one in the shade is still trying to evaporate. I think that the heat has something to do with this because it's cooler in the shade and the one in the shade isn't evaporating as fast as the one in the sun. Explore your world and then have fun about it at the Plum Landing site at PBS.
Okay. So yeah, we saw evidence of evaporation happening in that video. And just like in this picture here, if you put a plastic bag as a barrier between the heat energy from the sun, evaporation still occurs, but it condenses back into water once it hits that cooler bag and cools that water vapor down. Another process that happens is transpiration. So plants take in water from their roots for photosynthesis so they can make their own food. And whatever water they don't use, they give off through little holes in their leaf called transpiration. So the transpiration happens when plants give off water from those little holes in their leaves, and it's called transpiration. And so just as water evaporates from collections of water, it can also evaporate from the leaves of trees and plants. The next place water could be is condensing in a cloud. So water vapor in the air gets cold and changes back into that liquid water droplet. And this is how clouds are formed. So that warm water vapor rises in the atmosphere, and it's a lot colder the higher you go in the atmosphere. So it cools back down and turns back into liquid water.
Hey, I'm in here. I'm in this giant wheel. So let's see what happens when I come outside where you are. See, the surface of my little helmet of science turns cloudy. That's because water vapor, which was floating around in the air, sticks to the cold surface in little liquid water droplets. This process, this effect, this thing that happens is called condensation. It's the same thing that happens to people who wear glasses when they come in after being outside on a cold day. It's where clouds come from. Where'd you guys go? Oh, funny. Oh, very funny. Anyway, condensation is sort of the opposite of evaporation. Instead of liquid water gaining energy and becoming a vapor, water vapor loses energy, becomes a liquid. Little tiny droplets that stick to cold surfaces. There's a very important thing about condensation. Water vapor needs a place to stick in order for condensation to happen.
Look at the glass next time you drink your milk. Does it seem to sweat? Well, the glass isn't really sweating, of course, but it is wet. It's just the water vapor in the nearby air being condensed.
When clouds form, water vapor turns into tiny liquid water drops. But in order for that to happen, the water has to have some place to stick. It has to have something to stick to. So take a look at this. This is our big glass jug cloud apparatus of science. And we're going to make a cloud in here. First, we'll add a little water. This will be the water that will form our cloud. Swirling it around a little. Now, using this pump, we'll pressurize the big glass jug. Then when I pull this rubber stopper off, the air in the jug will expand. And that's when a cloud should form. 3, 2, 1. See, nothing happened. That's because the water vapor didn't have anything to stick to. So what we're going to do is add some dust. Just a tiny amount of dust. And to make the dust, we'll use the smoke from these 2 matches. That's all the dust we need to form a cloud. Now watch. We'll pressurize it again. When I pull it off, the air in the jug expands. And when it expands, it cools off. The same thing happens to air masses when they get blown around by the wind and pushed up high into the sky. 3, 2, 1. See? It's a cloud. It's the water cycle. It's science.
So for condensation to occur, you need something for those water droplets to stick to or condense to. Oftentimes in the sky, they have dust particles floating around, and so water vapor will condense on dust particles and become liquid water, and that's how clouds are formed. In our study last week, we talked about pollution also being a possibility for condensation nuclei, and that can cause acid rain when that happens. Another phase of the water cycle is precipitation. So this is where a form of water falls to the Earth's surface when so much water has condensed in the clouds that the clouds can't hold it anymore. This precipitation is driven by gravity. It can be in the form of rain, hail, sleet, or snow. And I think it's easily the most visible, most noticeable part of the water cycle because you feel it, you see it, you hear it. So in review, we have this beautiful water cycle which cycles water from land to atmosphere and back to land. I have a fun little rap for you.
should know that it all starts with the sun, evaporated oceans and lakes. We're here to tell you about rain, rain. The water cycle makes it rain, rain. Evaporation makes it rain, rain. Condensation makes it rain, rain. Sun heats the ocean, molecules go round and round. Going back to they begin to jump up and down. Become water vapor flying up to the sky. Get together from a cloud, my oh my. I'm talking about condensation, you know it's fine. Water from the earth evaporates to the sky. And what condenses must come down just the same. And when it does, it's boogity rain. You know the rain is precipitation. Collects and starts to evaporate. Then it starts all over, and that's a fact. That's the water cycle, you can believe that. Rain, rain. The water cycle makes it rain, rain. Evaporation makes it rain, rain. Condensation makes it rain, rain. Your brain is on vacation if you don't know about precipitation. The water cycle never stops, you see. CYCLE. That's the cycle, and you know it's like that. The earth recycles water, you know it's not whack. It's all natural, it's not coincidental. Keeps the water clean, and that's environmental. Rain, rain. The water cycle makes it rain, rain. Evaporation makes it rain, rain. Condensation makes it rain, rain. Peace, I'm out of here.
Cute. So some vocabulary to remember. These are all testable vocabulary words. Collection, evaporation, condensation, water vapor. Sorry, I'm in the way of that one. Water vapor, water cycle, transpiration, and precipitation. So this slide is in the absent word folder on a slide link under our daily agenda. So if you want this to study for your test, you can save that to your drive. So in order to review, I want you to play this game. So you will need to actually open this up and download it into your Google Drive. I'm going to skip this slide until later because I want to go through and talk about what you need to do after we spend a little time playing this game. You are going to take an exit ticket quiz. You will not need to click here. In fact, you will be, I will post your exit ticket on Google Classroom. And then to wrap up the day, I would like you to make some sort of foldable water cycle diagram. And so I've included an example of what I'm expecting. The outside can be the basic cycle of the water and what happens. And then the inside could be a more detailed description of each step. You can fold it any way you'd like, but I recommend kind of folding it in a tri-fold, and then you can cut down the middle of each fold on the side. So I will go over that in class in more detail with you. Here are a couple science experiments you could do at home.
Hello, I'm Jared, back with another demonstration experiment on the water cycle. And this is pretty cool. We're going to do the water cycle in a baggie. We're going to make it rain inside this bag. Really cool. So the shorter baggies can work, but I find the bigger baggies, the Ziploc baggies, are the best. You want a nice clean seal, and you want some space for that water cycle to happen, that evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and accumulation to happen. So I'm going to draw a design on this, and I'm just using a Sharpie marker so it doesn't come off. I'm going to draw a sun because that's what powers it. Nice smiley face sun. Beautiful. I could draw some clouds if I want to. I could draw some ocean waves. Really simple design. Now let's make the water happen. So I'm going to open the baggie, fill it just a little bit with water, trying to keep it off the edges as much as possible. You can see that's all the water I want. It's going to actually be hanging on a window. So if it's heavy, it might actually fall down. Now, you can keep the water in clear, but I find it's really neat if you add food coloring, because that's where the magic happens. When the water evaporates and condenses on the side, it's cool to get kids to hypothesize what color that water is going to be. So be careful it doesn't splash up on the sides. Just put a few drops of food coloring in. You can make it as dark or as light as you want. And I want to seal this up. Make sure it's not open, or else the evaporating water will get out of the baggie. So let's hang this on the window and see it in action.
Okay, here we are back in Jared's classroom. As you can see, we have a number of these bags just taped up with masking tape on a window, and it's really fun for the kids to watch them during the day. This is a sunny day, so already the evaporation is occurring, and we have water droplets on the side of the bags. One of the things that's really interesting to note, the blue water, only the water is evaporating, so the water droplets themselves are clear. You could ask the kids to hypothesize why that is. So now we're going to zoom in on one of the bags here with the smiley face sun, and we're going to see if we can make it rain in the bag. We're just going to tap gently on the bags to see if a few of those drops that are on the side will kind of get together and fall down. But using the water cycle in a bag is really a fun way for kids to see the water cycle in action, to really understand it. Tapping there, you can see a little bit starting.
Awesome. And so here's another one you could do at home.
Hey guys, we're going to do a little science experiment to learn about rain today. And so we have a jar of water here. You're going to need some Barbasol, some kind of shaving cream that's the foamy kind and not the gel kind. That's a jar of water, and this is food coloring, bud. In just a little bit. So you're going to need some food coloring too, preferably something like blue that looks waterish. We're going to take the Barbasol and we're going to make a cloud on top of our water here. And then we let the kids put the food coloring in. And then whenever the cloud gets too heavy with food coloring, it's going to fall through. And it shows how, whenever a cloud gets too full of rain, it comes down. All right, y'all ready? Okay. Got our cloud on top there. Now we're going to take our food coloring.
Only food coloring.
Want that one? Shock, you want this one? I just want y'all to put a whole bunch on there until it starts to come through. Do you see the rain?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the cloud can't hold it anymore, so it's coming down like rain.
Some more.
You want to put some more? Go ahead. Y'all are the rainmakers.
All right, so those are some fun ones you could do at home if you have the materials. And now with all of your new information about the water cycle, you are ready to go off into the world and tell others about the water cycle.